Well, Dennis, thank you so much for helping my project. I know we went to high school together so many years ago, like 25, I think, probably
Something like,
26.
yeah.
I was wondering if maybe you could say a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Dennis Granger. I am an engineer working for the U.S. Army. Specifically, right now, working for the Assured Position Navigation and Timing Initiative. Basically, what I do is I help set policy and development work for the next generation navigation and timing systems. So, uh, kind of like I mean the most prevalent PNT, that as they call it, is GPS, that most people know. So, but there's others.
I guess Galileo and Europe they're working on, and then
Galileo. There's some I forget off the top of my head what the other ones are, but yes, Galileo's one. There's Starlink. Starlink is another one.
oh, Starlink's going to provide PNT.
They could.
It
They're
could.
looking into it. So,
That, that's really interesting. How did you end up getting into this?
well, it's kind of a roundabout way. I did a lot of navigation stuff in my earlier years, doing development, and then I did a little bit of work at a Missile Defense Agency, and then it just kind of came a full circle. So so now I work with the government in general on what the next generation PNT is going to look like.
And what kind of engineering are you into? Electrical engineering?
They call it electrical and electronics technology. Basically, it's really a manufacturing degree, but I've kind of repositioned it based on experience and put myself back into just the regular designing area. So, but
Well, that's awesome. So did you know we were planning to put people back on the moon in 2024?
I am very well aware.
Oh, how did you find out about it?
Oh, we have Marshall Space Flight Center sitting right next to me, so it's and plus, the news too. But that's been kind of the talk around here in Huntsville, Alabama, here in Rocket City, as they like to call it. So,
I think they're working on the green run test right there for the SLS core stage. Um, will you get to see any of that?
I get to see some of the some of the, I want to call it. I don't actually go see it up close, but you can see it pretty. I mean, whenever they're testing something, you can see a lot of the activity going on from a distance. So,
Pretty amazing. So what other neat things do you get to see being there right there in Rocket City?
get to see a little bit more development work going on. In other areas that NASA's interested in, satellite propulsion, the Mission Control Center for the space station. Part of it's here, so um, they do a lot of work over there. Some payload work, but mostly rocket development. So it's
I
pretty
didn't
much the thing here.
I didn't realize a part of the mission control was in Huntsville.
Yeah,
Is it like a secondary site or what's the?
it's a secondary site, but it's manned 24/7.
So if
So
something happens, like a hurricane in Houston, then
yeah, uh, the last few hurricanes and floods and everything, they switched it over to here. So when all that was going on.
it's pretty interesting. Um, would it surprise you that most of the people I talk to that aren't into space don't have no idea that we're planning to send people back to the moon?
It don't really surprise me that much. It's just there's little hints about it on the, when it first came up in the news, there was a little hype, but then it kind of tapered off. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me, because if you missed it, about 2 or 3 years ago, if you missed it in the headline, then yeah, because there hasn't been much more talk about it since. So.
What do you think about it? I mean, is it something that is good, bad? We should have done it a long time ago. We should do it later. What's your view?
Well, from a scientific point of view, we're long overdue, but they keep saying that money's an issue. So I think it's about time to devote some resources to actually at least start exploring exploring that we could have at least a small a small presence on the moon. I mean, we did it with the space station. It's probably time. I mean, that was what, 20, 25 years ago, something like that. So it's time to kind of get beyond the space station at this point, in my opinion.
Do you know the last time we had people on the moon?
1979. No, is it 1979?
1972.
72. Okay, that's right. That's right.
Can you believe it's been that long? I mean, there's been nobody on the moon since the time you and I have been born.
Oh, I know. No, I find it hard to believe that we haven't gone back before this point. So, or at least the plans anyway. So.
Yeah, I think people often ask me, why haven't we been back? Why do we stop going? I was wondering what your thoughts were.
There was a push in the 70s to develop the space shuttle program. At least initially, it wasn't designed to do that, and that's what they kind of wanted to turn the program towards for space flight. And since they never really got the shuttle out of testing phase, I don't think they ever got beyond or to the point to where they had a real test profile to be able to extend its ability to do other things. So there was a lot of hype to do a reusable vehicle, but it just like I said, it all got caught up in the fact of just it was hard to do what they were doing already, and so it kind of hampered things. And then and another thing too is that NASA wanted to do commercial. They wanted to go more in the commercial realm for space flight with the space shuttle. That's kind of what Challenger was supposed to. That was the vision of Challenger, and it didn't quite work out very well. So no, I believe the reason why is because the shuttle program was the focus, and it never got beyond or to the point where it could evolve to do other things.
What do you think about SpaceX and what they're doing with Starship down there in Boca Chica, Texas?
I've seen that facility. It's very interesting because it's out in the middle of nowhere, going on the way to the beach actually. But what I think about it, I think it's bridging the gap between what the commercial or what the government is lacking as far as resources are concerned, and what commercial industry would actually get out of it from a financial, the more resources in that area, because government limitations, and also there's more willingness to take chances and to try to commercialize this. So I think it's a good thing because it's driving a lot more technology development and actually trying to push the envelope to where we should have been going all along. But there is a little bit of a concern over it becoming the everyday norm of everything. So you have to figure out where that balance is. So, but I'm for it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what Elon has planned in terms of the Starship will be 100% reusable, the most powerful rocket ever built, and the cheapest to launch because it's 100% reusable. And he's talking about it being able to carry 100 people at a time. You'll be able to go from Huntsville, Alabama to, Dubai in like 30 minutes, or to orbit, or, to the moon, all in the same vehicle.
Well, you bring up a good point too. I mean, the limitations of aircraft in and of itself, at least for safe flight, is I mean, it's been the same way for a long time. So, I mean, with a jet engine, so jet engine can't do that, or can't go very high. But if you can go the higher in altitude, the faster you go, the quicker you can get somewhere. So, that's a good point.
So if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
Sure.
Like just to orbit or to the moon, or would you take a multi-year trip to Mars and back?
Just depends on the circumstances. I mean, I would at least do the moon thing. Mars may be pushing it for my comfort zone, but at a minimum, I'd like to go into space. That's what I really wanted to do earlier in my career, was do that. So
Yeah, I thought I wanted to do that too. I kind of got sidetracked with the internet. What? How did you get sidetracked?
my military career didn't go exactly the way I intended. So once that got derailed a little bit, I mean, it wasn't a bad thing. It's just that was my career. That was the path I was going down to become an astronaut, and it just ended. So
Did the Columbia accident have anything to do with it?
no, nothing. Actually, I was out by then. So
I think a lot of people had dreams of becoming astronauts. I remember Amy King from, in middle school had wanted to be an astronaut, but kind of lost interest. Oops.
are you gonna be able to put together?
Yeah, no, I just paused it and we're
Okay,
good. So
good. Then that'll work. I don't know what happened. It just went boop, gone.
no worries. But I know we had a lot of people in our school that was interested in space. Like Amy and Chris and Joe. And, Jeffrey Perkins actually ended up going to work for Lockheed Martin and is working on the Orion capsule, which is kind of neat. So
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, I kind of discovered that. But do you think, what do you see our future in space? And I'm not sure if my voice is coming through clearly. It sounds like there might be some static on my side.
Just a little bit.
Okay. What do you think is our future in space? Why are we going there? Do you see a future where humanity actually branches out into the rest of the solar system and maybe even figures out some way to travel between the stars? Or do you think all of humanity just stays on the Earth and this is where we live and end?
Well, I see us branching out eventually everywhere, kind of like I'll call it the Star Trek phenomenon. I see that happening. I don't see it happening as fast as as what they say, the 23rd, 22nd centuries. They like to try to predict it to, but I mean, it would be interesting if they could. But I think it's gonna take a little bit longer than that.
It's amazing to think about how computers have changed and communication. Even in the 1990s, whenever we were in high school, I I don't think we envisioned the iPhone, and it like came about, and everybody has one.
Well, it was still the standard was still the bulletin board system. The internet came out the year that I graduated high school, so or at least it was publicly available. Let's put it that way. It's been available for a long time. It just wasn't publicly available. So yeah, I'm really surprised at how far it's gone. You would have never thought that you get above a 10 megabyte hard drive.
I know. I, I mean, I'm taking these videos and
Yeah.
I'm putting them on this 1 terabyte micro SD card. I mean, can you believe that's, and I think it only costs like $200 for like, a terabyte.
Yeah.
I mean, this could literally probably hold every book, every video I have in my house. And this is just the packaging. The actual chip inside smaller than that.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, you could get those. You could get these little flash drive looking things now. Just a little pin that plugs in there like a Bluetooth dongle. So you can actually hide it. So.
Yeah, I mean, you see a little attachment on your keyboard, and it could be log in everything you say, type and what have you. It's kind of a scary world.
Yeah, because I mean, it's all the Chinese and the Russians are always watching you.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing about the Chinese. We're talking about going back to the moon, and we're really emphasizing like the first woman and the next man and that type of thing. And the Chinese are really talking about, the moon is like the next South China Sea. If they don't go now, others will go, and future generations will be kind of impeded from using those resources. So I mean, I feel like in some respects, the Chinese might have a more strategic vision with respect to the moon than we do.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's about, I mean, really, it's about in their national interest, right? So the question is, what is, I'm not saying that they're going to exclude folks, but it all becomes what is in their best interests, and then any extension of that might be, more towards the general welfare is what I'll call it. But yeah, it's for them. It's the plan is always for their own national interest first, under all costs. I mean, because every country really does it to some extent. But I think that, for example, I mean, Russia's not so bad, or is not so bad as is trying to take over everything. But I mean, as the Chinese are, for example, or even, the U.S. does look at its interests, but at the same time, it tries to share in those interests. So.
And a lot of people are thinking that conflict between China and the U.S. Might be inevitable at some point. I was wondering, what's your thoughts on that?
It all depends on how far one is pushing an objective over the other. And do I think I think it'll come to a head? Do I really think it's going to be an all out conflict? Probably not. Not anytime soon. There's just too much. There's too much to lose on. If you take just the two countries, there's too much to lose on both sides to be able to do that. So I don't think it'll happen anytime soon, but I do think that there's, you mentioned the South China Sea. It all really comes down. I mean, they make their islands, they lay claim to them. Then they say that the 12 nautical mile rule comes into play, and they said, well, now we own 12 nautical miles of it. The question then really becomes, does the world really recognize it? And then if the world doesn't recognize it, which right now they're not doing that. So the question is how far are they going to push that objective? So I will say in a general sense, if you have the general world saying that you can't do that, I would say that even though there's a boast, they boast about it, I just don't think it's something that they can justify, if that makes sense.
It makes sense. How soon do you think it'll be before space travel becomes a common thing?
I think it could happen now if it was affordable. Like I said, they've tried since the beginning of the 80s to try to make it go that direction. That's how NASA was justifying their existence, right? So I would say that it's probably, I'd say within the next, pretty much right now, if you're really rich, you could, once they really get some safety numbers behind the space, the SpaceX
Crew Dragon?
Yeah. If they can get some safety, some testing and safety numbers behind it, they'll probably start opening up at least to your more wealthy individuals. So from a wealthiness perspective, I see it happen within the next 15 to 20 years. And then become more affordable might be more towards the 20 to 40-year time frame where, General Joe or general person can actually really just get a ticket and go.
Next year, Axiom Aerospace is conducting an all-private trip to the International Space Station. And Tom Cruise is actually supposed to be going as part of that. Have you heard about that?
I've heard a little talk about that, and I don't know much of the details, but I've heard something about it. So,
you think that I get a lot more people aware of space travel? It seems like a movie star going to the International Space Station would allow for that news to penetrate into circles that wouldn't normally pay attention.
Oh, I definitely do believe it'll at least for a short amount of time, it'll add some emphasis to it because, well-known people, or you use the well-known people that you're trying to, or the people you're trying to influence to actually, be a part of what you're doing in order to gain support for it, right? So yeah, I think that if you make a big deal, a well-known person and go and then make a big deal about it, then yeah, I think at least for a period of time you'll draw a lot of interest.
And have you heard of Space Hero? It's a reality TV show contest that's going to be kicked off next year. The winner of which will get to go to the International Space Station for 10 days.
I hadn't heard about that one.
You think that's something you would participate in?
Depends on what's going on and what they're doing, and then really it comes down to whether or not I'm allowed to.
Oh, what would keep you from participating?
Well, the time that I may have to invest in it. And really working for the government, you got to get permission for a lot of stuff like that. So, I'm not saying that that's very hard to do, but they can always come back and say no. So, based on the job they do.
Oh, what do your children think about space exploration and space travel and that type of thing?
They like the idea. They like the concept. In fact, my youngest is actually he's planning an Air Force career to try to do his part in it. So he's very much into it. My daughter doesn't care. Well, she'll talk about it, and actually, she's a Star Trek fanatic, so I can't say she don't care. But she doesn't talk much about the here and now. I think she's more in the fantasy part of it. And then my oldest, he'll talk about it some, and then my youngest right now, just 3 years old. So
That's neat. Are there as many Star Trek fans today as you think there were whenever we were in high school, or maybe more or less? What do you think?
well, I would say more because they have to justify all these series they're coming out with, right? Or at least they're feeding the hunger, of who's out there. So, I mean, they got what, 2 new ones coming out in the next year? Actually, they were supposed to have already started, but the COVID thing has kind of slowed it down. But I know they started, well, you have these days, you have that, what you have, I mean, right now you have Discovery going on, which is, they, it kind of subsided for 3 years, and they just finished shooting it whenever they put everybody in quarantine, so they were able to get that one out. But they were going to start Strange New Worlds in Section 31's version of it, and they all got put off. I think they started Strange New Worlds and just haven't finished it. And then there's of course the Lower Decks one. This hilarious as heck. I just love that one.
It's called Lower Decks.
Yeah, you haven't seen that one?
No, I've been completely out of touch with Star Trek.
I was for a long time. I quit. I kind of quit, but I started back up again. I actually had to binge watch a little bit to kind of get caught up, and then. But yeah, they have one called Lower Decks now. It's an animated one, and it's geared towards the youngest of the people. They call it Lower Decks because they're down there shoved in the hole because they're low ranked people, and it's fun to watch because it breaks out a lot of humor in what the lower ranking people have to do, you know clean everything, shovel up whatever crap or garbage is on the floor or whatever, mop the floor, things like that. So anyway, it's pretty humorous to watch. I still hadn't finished it though. Watching it, I only watched like 4 out of 10, I think, on that one. But anyway,
That's amazing. There's just so much entertainment to choose from.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a big difference than it was whenever we were in high school. I remember in high school, the dish, I mean, like a satellite dish was like really, out there in terms of having some choices. And then I think you were really good with like actually doing the programmed recording of the VHS and stuff.
Yeah, I remember. Well, if you remember, I had the big C-band dish out in the back yard.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And then you have to program it and you had to do manual turning to get it to go. So, well, I say manual turning. It had a manual arm that would turn it, and then you would tell it when to turn to go somewhere so you could record something on VHS. So.
And also, I remember you doing some video editing too. Like you made your own, like had spliced together. I think it was like Star Trek tapes and stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. So we had. I mean, so the priest down there, when my earlier years, and actually he came back after Father Pat Turner, he used to record them on video, and then he would hand them over to us to put them on one tape. So yeah, so it's pretty much what it is. And we had he would send them to us. We would re-record it, cut the commercials out, and send it back to us. So we had like 15 tapes of our original series, I think, and there was like 6 to a tape because they were 6-hour tapes. So we had a bunch of them, but yeah, we go pick them up at St. Helens all the time and bring them home and then take them back. So.
Pretty neat. Well, Dennis, we should catch up more frequently, but I'm glad you signed up for my Countdown to the Moon project. I'm planning to interview a person a day to the end of 2024. You have any questions you think I should ask people?
No, I think you asked some really good questions. I mean, I could tell you. I mean, I have several questions you could ask for somebody who would know things, but for general public, I think you do a great job.
Well, that's my goal. I hope to get back to asking the unsuspecting person at Starbucks soon. Right now, it's a little more dangerous than it should be.
I saw some some of some of those videos where you just walked up to somebody and said, "Hey, you ever heard of this?" And of course, I don't even remember. I mean, I didn't see a whole lot of them. I don't remember seeing one that said, "Yeah, I know about this." I remember it's like, "No, I don't know about that," and "Oh, really?" type of deal. So.
Yeah, I had a lot of those. I have interviewed a few people in the space industry. I've interviewed I think about 3 or 4 people from Blue Origin, and I interviewed a couple of people from Paragon Aerospace or Paragon Space Systems over there in Tucson, Arizona, and various people. So that's been good, but that's been an interesting perspective too, talking to them. But it'd be really interesting to see the non-space person's perspective on this.
Yeah. Have you ever been here to Huntsville?
I've not. I need to come.
Go ahead.
Oh, I need to go there. I should visit.
Yeah, you should come over here and visit and come hang out, and we'll have to go. We'll have to go and see what's all here. Because they got the Space and Rocket Center here, and the Marshall Space Flight Center where they do all the rocket. Well, I won't say all, but they do most of the rocket development and testing is all here. So.
Yeah, I think maybe this summer, if you're around.
Oh yeah, I'll be around. I'm sure I'll still be doing Uncle Sam's work in some way, shape, or form.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. No, and let me go ahead and just stop the recording and let me get your contact info. So
Okay.
anyway, thank you so much, and I'll